Somewhere in human history, one person looked another person in the eye and said something they knew was not true. And it worked. That moment is one of the most important events in the story of our species, and nobody knows when it happened. There's no artifact for it, no tool, no cave painting, no burial. Lying leaves no trace in the ground, but it does leave a trace somewhere else, in the shape of our brains, in the behavior of our closest relatives, and in the exact age at which every human child starts doing it. To understand when lying began, you first have to understand what a lie actually requires. It is not simply saying something false. If I tell you the sun is cold because I sincerely believe it, I'm wrong. But I haven't lied. A lie requires something much stranger. You have to hold two separate versions of reality in your head at the same time. What is actually true and what you want someone else to believe is true. And then you have to model the inside of another person's mind well enough to predict what will convince them. Psychologists call this ability theory of mind, and there's a line researchers use that captures it perfectly. Lying is theory of mind in action. So the real question isn't when humans invented lying. It's when any creature became capable of building a false belief inside someone else's head. And here the answer is genuinely uncomfortable. It wasn't us. In the 1980s, researchers Richard Byrne and Andrew Whiten started collecting reports from primatologists around the world of what they called tactical deception. Their definition was precise. Normal behaviors from an animal's repertoire deployed in a way that makes another individual misinterpret what's happening to the deceiver's advantage. What they built became the St. Andrew's catalogue of tactical deception in primates, and the examples are startlingly specific. A subordinate baboon suddenly stands up and stares intently at an empty horizon. The rest of the troop turns to look. In the confusion, the baboon quietly takes the food it was never going to be allowed to have. Mountain gorillas suppress their own mating calls to avoid the attention of a dominant male. A monkey rests one hand casually over a piece of fruit so nobody realizes it's there. Notice what all of these have in common. None of them require language. And critically, researchers are careful here. This doesn't prove those animals understand deceit the way we do, but it does prove the behavior predates speech entirely. Now here's the part that flips the whole story. When researchers looked at which primate species deceive the most, they didn't find that the answer was aggression or competition or dominance. They found something almost the opposite. The species that deceive most are the species that cooperate most. The reasoning is uncomfortable once you see it. Deception only pays off if there's trust to exploit. In a group where nobody helps anybody, there's nothing to gain by faking. But build a society on food sharing, mutual grooming, alliances, and reciprocal favors, and suddenly a well-placed lie becomes extremely valuable. And so, as one paper put it, our ability to convincingly lie to each other may have evolved as a direct result of our cooperative nature. Read that again. Our capacity for deception may be a side effect of our capacity for kindness. They grew together because each one created the conditions for the other, which leads to the closest thing we have to a timeline. Every human child reinvents lying from scratch, and they all do it at almost exactly the same age. Research suggests children begin telling lies somewhere around 2 to 3 years old, not because anyone teaches them, because a specific cognitive capacity comes online. And researchers have tested this causally. In one study, children were trained to reason about other people's mental states. Those children were then significantly more likely to use deception to win a reward in a hide-and-seek task than children who received no such training. And the effect held over a 30-day period. Teach a child to model other minds, and lying appears on its own, which tells us something important about our ancestors. Any human population with fully developed theory of mind and language had automatically the capacity to lie. It wasn't a separate invention. It came free with the ability to imagine what someone else is thinking. And once language existed, the stakes changed completely. A deceptive gesture can mislead about one thing in one moment. A sentence can construct an entire false event that never happened in a place nobody present has visited, about people nobody can check on. Language didn't create lying, it industrialized it. But there's a reason our ancestors didn't simply become liars. Deception in a small group is spectacularly risky. Everyone knows everyone. Reputations are permanent. Get caught once, and you may be excluded from the food sharing, the alliances, and the protection that kept you alive. So an arms race began. Better deceivers created better detectors, which created better deceivers. Some researchers think that pressure is part of why our brains got so large in the first place. And here's the thing we tend to miss. The exact same machinery that lets you lie is the machinery that lets you tell a story. To comfort someone by imagining how they feel. To plan for a future that doesn't exist yet. To create fiction. Every myth, every religion, every novel runs on the ability to build a scene in someone else's mind that isn't literally happening. So when did humans invent lying? The honest answer is that we didn't. We inherited the capacity from ancestors who couldn't speak, and language handed us the tools to use it at a scale nothing else on Earth can match. Lying wasn't a flaw that appeared in an otherwise honest species. It was the price of admission for having an inner life at all.